Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there tonight and had yourselves a wonderful day. And I hope everyone has had a great weekend out there as it comes to an end, unfortunately, and we head off into another work week. But hopefully, you got a day off, at least one day off, whether it be a New Year's Day. And speaking of the new year, we're going to bring in a totally new weather pattern as we get into January that's going to support well below average temperatures, multiple shots of Arctic air. And yes, winter storm chances. I think we'll have multiple shots at winter storms for a good section of the country, and even the South. And this pattern certainly has a risk to get multiple shots at winter weather. So we need to speak on this. We're going to break down all the information that we have. The first thing we will talk on is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center and how it's overlapping the chance of below average temperatures with above average precipitation. That's the big thing that's changed with this today. So we'll speak on that. We'll talk about the Euro ensemble as far as how cold compared to your average temperatures for the time of the year coming up could these temperatures get. We'll spend some time on that because that is what we're the most confident on. I think that needs a lot of attention. A lot of people are probably clicking on this video because they want to see if we're going to get snow or not. But this cold could be dangerous, guys. So we'll speak on that first. And then we'll compare a bunch of model guidance, the Euro, the GFS, the Canadian, the Euro AI model, and just basically show you what it is showing. And it is showing winter storms, but it's for different time frames. Some of these winter storms are lighter events. Some of them are big events. But we're going to show everything for you guys to see, and then we'll talk about snowfall as far as the ensemble guidance, and then we'll nerd out with you guys a little bit and really break down the evolution of this pattern and why it supports such a favorable pattern and a very long window for this favorable pattern for a lot of cold air and winter weather chances. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. I am very behind on comments. Very, very behind. I'm going to try to do my best to get caught up with them tomorrow, which I hate when I get behind, especially with the prayer requests. I'm not able to read them. It's just been a crazy busy weekend, so I do apologize about that. So with that being said, let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center, the 6 to 10 day outlook. So this runs from, I wish I could always have this memorized, but I don't, January 4th through the 8th, okay? So this is several days into January, going for below average temperatures if you're in the blue. If you're in this shade of blue, that's a 70% chance of temperatures being below normal in this time period. You go to this lighter shade, 60, 50, 40 and 33% chance of temperatures being below average. Going for above average temperatures out west. We know that the pattern supports it with a ridging out west. Now check this out. So try to freeze in your head what you're seeing here. Now let's go to the precipitation outlook in the same time frame. A lot of people thinking, including me, I don't just want cold, dry weather. Heck, some people don't even want cold weather. Are we going to get any winter weather out of this? Okay. This is the precipitation outlook. It overlaps or underlaps, however way you want to put that, the below average temperature. So if you live in this green, like in this shade of green right here, that's a 40% chance of precipitation being above normal, whether that's rain, ice, snow, something in between. Well, we don't quite know. And same thing in this shade of green right here is a 33% chance of precipitation being above normal, which basically means it's leaning towards precipitation being above normal. And once again, I'll go back and look at this. You look at that, same time period, look at temperatures. You're going to get some winter weather out of this. I mean, it's January. January, climate-wise, is the coldest month of the year. So if it's going to be 10, 15 degrees below average, your average temperature in early to mid-January, and your average temperature is 35, 40, 45 degrees, I mean, your high temperatures are going to be well below freezing. Okay, so let's go to the 8 to 14 day outlook. And let's click it. What does this run through? It runs through the 6th through the 12th. At this point, we're getting clear through the first 1/3 of January. In this shade of purple, there's an 80% chance of temperatures being below normal. So this includes all the mid-Atlantic, just about the southern and central Alps, all the southeast, a good section of the deep south. This shade of blue, 70% chance of temperatures being below normal, 60, 50, 40, 33. So the thing that you notice with this is this gets pushed back west, which is telling us that, hey, we're probably going to get an Arctic outbreak in this time period. And same thing, you look at this, right? and then you switch it to the precipitation outlook in that same time frame. Leaning towards drier in this browner shade of color, but in this grayed out color, that's kind of, where you could have, the way I view that is, you get about a chance of average precipitation. If that's 0.6 of an inch of precipitation for that time period, then that's probably around what they're expecting you to get. Now, in this area down here, this includes the Gulf Coast line all the way down to southern Texas, all of Florida, and sections of the eastern Carolinas, Georgia, all the way up to areas east of the I-95 corridor up into southern New England. They're leaning towards they're leaning wetter. So 33 to even a 40% chance of precipitation being above normal. You mix that with the fact that they're calling for below average temperatures, well below average temperatures, you're going to get some sort of winter weather. And it's even possible pretty far south. So let's move past this. And yes, I mean, at the 3 to 4 week outlook, I've already showed you this multiple times. This goes through like the 24th of January. They're thinking that this is going to stick with us for the long run, for a long time. So let's look at the Euro. Let's see, I got this a little mixed up. I do apologize. Let's look at the Euro ensemble here. And let's look at temperatures compared to average. I don't know what happened here. Looks like we got some things mixed up. Y'all bear with me. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, and this is starting, let's back this up a little bit. This is starting the morning of the 2nd. Okay, we're going to get one cold front that moves in. The bluer, greener colors, and I mean, it even gets to like these Barney colors up here, like purple. Just a real deep, colder looking color. That's below average temperatures. If you live in the area where it's showing like the warmer colors, like the oranges and the reds, stuff like that, that's above average temperatures. So already, I think right after the new year, which it's crazy, it's the 29th. I keep forgetting in 2 days, it's New Year's Eve. So this is coming up on us now. We're going to have a cold front that moves through the country. In fact, the cold air is already starting to move in now into the lower 48. And this will cool down the southeast. So already into the morning of like the 2nd. And here it is, January 2. These are the timestamps up here. It also says it right here, January 2, 2025. So if you're confused, you're like, Mitch, you're just saying a bunch of stuff and I don't know what time frame you're talking about. Well, you can look up here and you can look up here. Don't focus too much on the actual time, just the date. So below average temperatures across the southeast, you start to move into the 3rd, into the 4th, and then more cold air begins to spill in. So this area here in green, that's 15, maybe as much as 20 degrees below average temperature-wise. And I think we're going to just get reinforcing shots, like multiple cold fronts, even Arctic fronts. I think it'll just come in rounds. So by the time we get into, say, I don't know, next weekend, about 6-7 days from now, below average temperatures has a grip on the entire eastern U.S. You have a little bit of a flexing of the warmth. I think you'll have a ridge that tries to flex in. This will kind of amp up the atmosphere and actually get a storm system going, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then the true Arctic air mass drops down about a week to 8 days from now. And then this will take over the central and the eastern U.S. And what you're seeing here with these colors, green, 10, 15 degrees below average. And then you start to get into the shade of purple, like white. That's 15 to 20 degrees below average. So if you're thinking, Mitch, you're just saying below average, I don't know exactly what that means. Say if your average temperature is 55 degrees somewhere in the south, because that's the only place where I can think where your average temperatures will be 55 degrees in January. That means if you get temperatures that are 15 to 20 degrees below average, then you might get highs only in the low 40s to upper 30s, which is those kind of high temperatures in the south is really cold for us. And I'm saying for us because I live in Columbia, South Carolina. Now you keep rolling here and the cold air looks even more cold. In fact, you get about 10 to 11 to 12 days from now, and the center of the cold air really anchors here across the deep south, the mid-south, the southeast, the Alps, even stretching into the Midwest. This area right here, that is 20 to, I would say 15, anywhere from almost 25 degrees below average, centered right over this area in this purplish white. And the green is that 10 to 15 degrees below average. And this hangs around all the way to the end of the run. It looks like it begins to lessen its grip a little bit at the end of the run to the morning of the 13th. But all the way through almost mid-month, you're getting these well below average temperatures. So pretty wild stuff. If you look at like an operational run, and I'm going to switch it to the central U.S. here, and it's probably going to switch it to 18Z, and it did. This is what the sort of the operational run is showing. So this is starting out the afternoon of the 3rd. This is like high temperatures in the single digits, low teens up here, which isn't unheard of in January. Nothing too crazy. It's still warm in the deep south. You've already had a couple shots of cold air, and then the real true Arctic air begins to drop down. So this is around afternoon temperatures, midday temperatures, say next Monday, January the 6th. Single digits, low teens, all the way down to Kansas City. Midday temperatures in the 30s all the way down to Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, look at Memphis. Your midday temperatures are like in the 20s. And you think that's cold. Watch this. I mean, you get this other air mass that comes in. I'll stop it right here. This is the morning of the 8th. Going for single digits. Not a forecast. Going for single digits like in areas of Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, hopefully you know where you are on your map. And that's not a knock on anybody. But some people, believe it or not, do not know where they are on a map. But you know, look at these temperatures for next Wednesday morning. This is like 10 days from now, so pretty far out. Not this Wednesday, next Wednesday. I mean, they're going for well below 0 degree temperatures, and you keep this going, and then the coldest air begins to shift into the eastern U.S. But we could have another reinforcing shot of cold air right there into the 12th, and it's just wild stuff, guys. It really is. And, you know, you look at the eastern U.S. with this, and I'm going to back it up. I mean, it's even colder for the eastern U.S. You know, this is January 1, afternoon highs, already pretty chilly for the deep south, but nothing too crazy. You know, and then we start to get into, let's just take it all the way into next Friday. This is afternoon highs, nothing too crazy, 50s and 40s for the deep south. You're below freezing, pretty darn right cold in the Ohio Valley, Midwest. And then we start to get into, this is Saturday around afternoon, evening, temperatures well into the teens. Across the Ohio Valley, the Midwest. I mean, look at these temperatures are pretty cold in the evenings across the southeast. But it's really once we get about 8 to 10 days. I mean, look at these temperatures. Like, these are high temperatures. This is around high temperatures right here. Only in the 30s in the deep south. Sub-freezing high temperatures across the deep south. And, I mean, once you get past the day 10 mark, I mean, some areas might not get out of the 20s for highs, pretty far south. And I know I'm focusing in a lot on the south, but I mean, this will impact people in the south a little bit more because we're not used to it down here. But look at these sub-zero temperatures showing up in the mid-south, and I think that's because this particular run has snow cover in that area. But I mean, these temperatures are just ridiculously cold. I mean, we go all the way to the 12th, 13th, just really cold air, guys. So just want to talk about that. Now, let's go over what a lot of people want to hear about, and that is winter weather chances. Let's start off the morning of the 1st. This is the latest European model. Not a whole lot going on. We have a system that's leaving the country at this point, getting off the eastern seaboard, rain, snow in the northeast. So what's next after this? Cold air is oozing down, and then we start to get into Thursday, and then we get into Friday morning. Still not a whole lot going on. Got a little moisture bubbling up down here in Louisiana. Starting to get into next weekend. This is about 6 days from now. And then we get all the way into Sunday morning. Boom, pops a winter storm up right here. Rain for most of Oklahoma, a little bit of ice to the north, but this is snow in Kansas, Nebraska, and then it gets even more amped up. So at this point, this is bringing a winter storm now into Sunday evening, afternoon, whatever it may be, into northern Arkansas, Missouri. If you watched this morning's video and last night's video, you'll remember that it had snow all the way up here in Iowa, Chicago. And I know my people in Chicago are thinking, man, you got to be kidding me, because Chicago has whiffed a lot lately. But anyways, let's keep it rolling. And then this continues to move. This has ticked significantly to the south. And I don't know why it does that on the Euro. It irritates the mess out of me. How if I flip back and forth here, it always wants to go back to the 18Z. But anyways, this is next Sunday morning, the 5th, getting into next Sunday evening. This is bringing a winter storm now into Tennessee, into Kentucky, into southern sections now of Indiana, Illinois. This is bringing a hefty snow event, even some ice in extreme northern Alabama, northern Georgia. And then it brings a quick-hitting winter storm for North Carolina. And most of North Carolina snow. There is some ice in the pink. Freezing rain is in the pink, guys. Sleet's in the orange, and blue is the snow. This is mainly rain for Georgia and South Carolina. Don't get too bummed out. And the reason I say that is because this system, if you go back to the OOZ run from last night, it was way up here. This is the same system. The one that we're confident that's going to happen, we're just not confident on who's going to see what. I mean, it was way up here. We have trended this thing way down here now. And I'm going to talk about why, but I'll kind of explain it real quick. There's a 50-50 low up in Atlantic, Canada. This thing is funneling down cold air into this, and models struggle mightily when it comes to cold air damming, and this is what's driving this. So this would be a quick hitting winter storm for Virginia, North Carolina as we're getting into next Monday, if this is the way it would happen. And then we move past this. I mean, this is inside 10 days, not a forecast. Okay, then that moves through. So let's go back to the expanded view of the entire U.S. What comes next after this? We're not going to South America, Mitch. Come on. What comes next after this, right? And let's go to this and that. Not as smooth with tonight's video as I normally am. And we go past that storm. What's next after it? Okay, we're getting to the morning of the 7th. All right, not a whole lot going on, but you can already see energy riding down the Rockies. And here it comes. Starts bubbling up a winter storm for Texas. It looks like this is going to be the beginning stages of a widespread deep south to southeast winter storm. It's snowing deep in Texas down here. And then the cold air press is so significant, it squashes this energy, and it's not able to continue to push moisture into this very cold air settled in over all the southeast. And then here comes another piece of energy. This is bringing some light snow, and let's just go on and whip this back to the eastern U.S. This is light snow falling in very cold temperatures coming down into the Mississippi Delta. Anything else after that? Here comes another system. Tries to deliver some light snow. This is, I don't know why Weather Bill keeps doing this, but this green you see here, that's actually snow. And there's a lot of energy under the hood, but nothing's reflecting to the surface. So the latest Euro, I know it's going to have my people in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina bummed out like, man, we're going to miss again. People overreact so much over operational runs, but just remember, it's just one run. And when I show you the Euro ensemble mean as far as snowfall, you're going to be like, okay, I get it now. So that's the latest Euro. Really, if you're going off, if you're really in your head want to say this is exactly what's going to happen, the Euro is just one storm and done. Okay? Well, we don't know what happens after 13, 14 days, but you get what I'm saying. Sorry, guys. My stamina is starting to wear down. I've been going at it all weekend with these videos. So I hope you guys understand if I slip up some words, mess up some things, and have to stop and just take a drink. It's a lot. It's a lot to go over. Yeah. Latest GFS. All right, make sure we have the updated information. Latest GFS, what does it show? All right, so we're starting in the morning of the 1st, not a whole lot going on. Like I said, storm system in the northeast, departing, leaving on out. Here comes the next system, which we are in. And I will say there could be a little energy late this week in this very cold air. Could bring some light to moderate snow across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, all the way into the western slopes of the Appalachian Mountains. And we keep on going. Here comes our system. Big amped up system, bringing winter weather as we're getting into the 4th to 5th of January, about a week from today, give or take a day, bringing snow, freezing mix here across the Midwest. This continues to progress. This is a very long storm on the GFS. It's snowing all the way from Denver all the way to West Virginia. This seems a little unrealistic, but let's just keep it going, right? This isn't quite as cold, but it's trended colder. So this wants to bring some freezing rain to northern Arkansas and to the northern counties of Tennessee. It wants to bring snow mostly for Kentucky. And this round starts to get into North Carolina. And then we have another kind of piece of this energy right here with a winter storm ongoing across. Let's just zoom into this, guys. I know it's pretty far out. This is getting into the evening of next Sunday. This is literally a week from today. You got a winter mess ongoing in the state of Missouri, southern Illinois and Indiana, Kentucky. Look at this wintry mix here going on in North Carolina, snow in Virginia. And then it gets beefed up, and we all of a sudden have an ice storm showing up at the pink and North Carolina areas of Kentucky. That is freezing rain. The sleet is orange, blue is snow. This is a big winter storm, a little bit more amped up still, so bringing snow all the way up to Chicago, snow all the way through Indianapolis, Dayton, all the way to Cleveland, Columbus, all the way into southern sections of lower Michigan. And this would be a major winter storm for North Carolina points north. And this would bring a winter storm 7 to 8 days from now, January 6th, 7th, into the DC, the Delmarva area, and it even gets some snow all the way up to New York City and some light to moderate snow into PA. But it's kind of a ice switching to rain event. Now I want to go back to this frame right here, okay? This is the current run. What did it show at 12Z? It's a little bit further north, a little bit warmer. What did it show at OOZ? Way up here. What did it show in last night's OOZ? There wasn't even a storm, guys. There wasn't even a storm. So this. What did you notice with that? You notice that the storm is there, but it's ticked south. And once again, just like how I explained it with the Euro, it's underdoing cold air damming. This system is going to likely happen, but I could see this continuing to suppress a little bit more south. I don't know if it's going to make it all the way to Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina, but I wouldn't rule it out either. It's a strong 50-50 low hanging out in Atlantic Canada, funneling in cold air on the side of it. So we get past that. What's next? Let's go back to the central U.S. and break this down. All right, this is getting into the 7th of January. We got some winter weather breaking out across the Texarkana area. Some winter weather cruising across the Mid-South, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. And let's see what it does in the eastern U.S. with this. This is a little bit too warm. Cold air has a little bit of a hard time getting past the Appalachian Mountains, and this is just a cold rain across the deep south with just some snow, and not even a big event at that. Light to moderate snow across northern Alabama, northern Georgia, the southern Apps. And it gets a little bit of a connection here, and then this starts to tap into some more energy and tries to become a bigger storm system here. And we're going all the way now out to about day 10. Drops a lot of heavy snow across southern New England. Okay, and then what's after that? Because there's still more energy coming down the pipeline here. We go back to the central U.S. We're getting about 10 days from now. Okay, so now we're starting to get to January 9th, 10th. Here comes some more energy dropping now. Looks like we're about to have some sort of connection here. Some snow coming down here. And then here comes some snow breaking out like January 11th. This is far out. This is not a forecast. I'm just kind of showing you all the energy. But let's go on and look over here. This starts to connect here, and we start to get a winter weather event as far south as Augusta, Columbia, South Carolina. Snow begins to fall deep in areas of the deep south and the Gulf states, and a low tries to form. A lot of snow falling across eastern North Carolina. Snow trying to get all the way down to the Panhandle, Florida. The pattern supports this, guys. It supports a deep, penetrating cold air, and yes, it could suppress the storm track, but I'm telling you guys, where it shows green here, that is snow. I don't know what's up with Weather Bill. But, I mean, this is a decent little light event for the Carolinas. But it's not a forecast. And then another system's about to happen again at the very end of it, all the way to mid-month. Man, and you know what's wild about this run is more cold air is dropping down after this. There's another shot of cold air at the very end of the run, which is at day 15 from now. What about the Canadian? Like I said, we're going to go over everything. What about the Canadian model? We're going to go through this a little bit quicker. Same thing. We're just going to watch this little system late this work week into early this weekend. This could bring some light snow, certainly, and very cold air across the Midwest Ohio Valley. And then as we're getting to Saturday morning, it wants to show some flurries, light snow breaking out as far south as northern Alabama. But that's not the main system. Now, the Canadian doesn't really beef this system up far enough north, so it doesn't bring much of a winter weather event for Missouri. But it does something totally different here, guys. It really wants to have the cold air in place already, and it wants to bring a deep south winter storm, pink freezing rain, sleet, orange, blue snow, and it wants to bring a winter storm into Birmingham, Atlanta. It looks like a southern slider, and all the way into Columbia, Charlotte. So the Canadian is a big winter storm. It's a totally different evolution compared to the GFS and the Euro. I don't buy it, but it takes that system that the Euro and GFS is showing. It delays it a little bit more, and there's more cold air in place, and this is a significant winter storm. Now, the Canadian only goes out 10 days, so it's still cranking at day 10. The Euro AI model. So this model, it's just a legendary model run. But I'm showing you all this model, guys, because I want you to tell you, I really want you to see how much energy is flying around with this cold air. Now, the thing with the Euro AI model is it does not show the pretty colors. It just shows precipitation as all green. It's not going to show the blues. It's not going to show the pinks or oranges. Okay? So we're going to have to walk our way through this. With the Euro AI model, start Saturday morning, January the 4th. Okay, here comes that first system. It does have that. It has that first system, and you see this 0 degrees Celsius line, this blue line, thinking that is the freezing line about 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the atmosphere. Okay, so we know that this green in West Virginia, Kentucky, I mean even south of it because of the surface is cold. It's probably winter weather, but that's not the system I really want to show you guys. It's the one after this. So we're getting into middle portion of next week. So we're getting into the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Here comes a classic looking Gulf low. That 540 line is almost all the way to the Gulf Coast line. And then it pops your classic low pressure track to get snow for Georgia and the Carolinas. Just off the coastline of South Carolina. That is a ton of precipitation getting thrown westward. And I'm actually going to zoom into this because this was just a glorious run for winter weather fans. So look at the run here. This is 10 days out. Okay, this is getting into the 8th, getting into the 9th. Okay, so I'm going to back this up. So, for example, right here, all right, this is the run. This is all precipitation. Let's look at the temperatures in this. It is snowing like crazy in the mid-20s and the upper 20s, even low 30s in Georgia and the Carolinas. So you look at this, you see the temperatures, you see the precipitation. That's crazy stuff. And I'm going to say it for the 100th time. The pattern supports crazy stuff when it comes to winter weather and cold with this setup coming up. So that's the last model run I want to show you guys. Pretty just unreal stuff. Now let's look at the Euro Ensemble guidance. All right, so this is between now and the morning of the 13th. This is the average snowfall from all the members off the Euro Ensemble, which is like 50 members, okay? So that's why you have these weird amounts like 9/10 of an inch, this stuff right here. Obviously, the heavier signal is up here in the upper sections of the plains, the Midwest, and the middle, in the central to northern Mississippi Valley, okay? And we've already showed you why. We have this winter storm risk in this area right at the beginning of this pattern. Now you see how this signal begins to sag south into northern Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia. And I'll talk more on the eastern U.S. here in a second, just showing you the central U.S. first. Okay, so that's the Euro Ensemble for the central U.S. What about the GFS Ensemble? You compare this with this. It sags it a little bit more south. There's a more stronger signal for snowfall a little bit further south. And you compare it again, it's about the same for northern Arkansas. And once you get north, it all kind of just blends in. Solid signal for snow between now and the next 15 days in this area. There's also going to be a risk of ice for certain areas. We just got to figure that one out. Now, we'll see if the 18Z run has ran yet, but it only goes out about 10 days. So it's not done running just yet. So I'm not going to be able to show that. But let's go to the Euro Ensemble, and I'm going to do it how I've been doing it on here if you've been tuning in. We're going to start off for the evening of the 4th of January. You're thinking, oh man, well, there's no signal. Well, the pattern gets active after this, okay? So at this point, we're getting snow, what we typically do in the Great Lakes area and the favorable northwest flow sections of the country. And then watch how it collapses southward once we get into the 5th, the 6th. We're getting into the 8th, or 9th, 10th. 11th, and we're just going to go all the way to the end of the run. You see how everything's collapsing south. Folks, this has over a 2-inch snowfall mean in my neck of the woods, and I'm having a hard time holding my excitement because I do not want to get the rug pulled out from under me or the football pulled out from under me, like Charlie Brown. But, this is a strong signal for the Carolinas, for areas of the Deep South, the Mid-South, the points north. This is probably one of the most impressive snowfall means off the Euro Ensemble that I've seen since I've been actively following weather via YouTube like crazy. Okay, and I really can't even think of anything prior to this, and probably because when I was earlier in my 20s, I didn't have access to all this stuff like everybody does now, and I pay for this site so I can see it now, but it's pretty wild stuff. That is a strong signal for winter weather pretty far south. I can't reiterate it enough. And just taking a closer look at the southeast here. Yeah, I knew it was going to do that. Go all the way back to the end of the run. And, I mean, you have an over 2-inch snowfall mean in Atlanta. I mean, all of Tennessee, anywhere from 2 to 5-inch snowfall mean. Charlotte's a 4-inch snowfall mean. Raleigh, Durham, about the same thing. And you even have a decent half-inch snowfall mean all the way down into Baton Rouge. And even a signal into Florida. It's just unreal stuff. Same thing with the GFS ensemble. Start off the evening of the 5th and just watch how it all collapses southward in time. The 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, 13th, all the way to the morning of the 14th of January. It's not quite as impressive as the Euro ensemble, but you'd rather have the Euro ensemble on your side over the GFS ensemble. The Euro ensemble or the EPS is the most reliable model that you can look at in the world, in my opinion. So a very strong signal also on this. Now, the 18Z run has not finished yet. I mean, we can look at it. It goes 240 hours out, so it's still running. And at this point, it is still trying to drop south. Not sure if it's going to be as impressive as a run as the 12Z, but I mean, and it doesn't look as impressive if you just go 10 days out. But just keep in mind, guys, that this could drop like a rock southward after this, but we just don't know because it only goes out 10 days. This is gonna fluctuate a lot. We just need to keep the signal there. If it starts to trend away, then we're probably losing. I would say more so we're trending away from a more favorable period of winter weather. But we'll continue to watch this. We'll continue to watch it, guys. But to kind of nerd out with you guys and just talk about this pattern, the blue is a trough, lower pressure. The warmer colors like the yellows, the oranges, and the reds, that's higher pressure ridging. Trough, ridging, okay? So this first trough is digging down currently. All right, and this is getting into Friday at this point. All right, you gonna work for me? So at this point, the jet is digging into this area, but it's not a favorable position trough. So it's really digging way too far east. The ridge right here is way too far to the east. So therefore, this is gonna bring that shot of cold air with it. Okay, kind of the first of many shots of cold air. And it's gonna be pretty cold, but the energy associated with it riding down this dip in the jet is just going to be northern stream dominated. It's just going to dive down like this, and you're just not going to really get anything out of it except maybe some northwest flow, some clipper action. That and mixed with the fact that you're not going to get a whole lot going on in the southern stream with this system. So that's why with this first cold shot, it's not going to do anything at all. Now, as you continue to progress forward, you see this area in blue coming off the Pacific into the Pacific Northwest. That is our big storm system that's going to initiate this pattern. And sure enough, here it comes. Now what happens here is this first trough kind of spreads and amplifies this way. And you have this 50-50 low here. So you got lower pressure kind of up here near Canada. So this low pressure, the flow around this is going like this. So it's slinging cold air down into this lower pressure, which is right here, which is a storm system that we just broke down. So this is helping to sling a lot of cold air down here. That mixed with the fact that we have this spiking ridge all the way up into Alaska, that's dislodging cold air down here. So some cold air damming funneling with this cold air, and then just flat out cold air coming down on top of this system. This is meeting this lower pressure, this blue, and you're going to get a winter storm. This first big system will be a winter storm for somebody. It's just trying to figure out how much cold air comes down right into this area east of the Alps, which is the Appalachian Mountains, which is, going down like this. How much cold air is going to funnel down into here? The arrow is probably not the best, but you get what I'm saying. Low pressure right here, storm system, how much cold air is coming down around this lower pressure up here. You got a lot of high latitude blocking. This is going to continue to dislodge cold air down, lock in all this clutter and this blue, this energy down here. And really the favorable winter weather pattern for the deep south and the southeast comes later on as you get past or around day 10. And you have this trough digging down at this point. And I'm going to expand this to about right here. This is about the 9th. and huge, broad, spiking ridge all the way up here, high latitude blocking, cold air diving down here, and this portion of the trough, a lot of cold air already in place. Okay, you got energy diving down now way off to the west instead of over here. Okay, we got energy now diving down further west. The trough is positioned more to the west. The ridging is ticked a little bit further west. The first trough was too far to the east. So this is now allowing for pieces of energy to ride down this ridge, kind of come down here even further. I mean, maybe even over here. And then you kind of get a little bit of help from the southern stream potentially. And then they connect somewhere in here maybe. Okay. And then you have a potential for a big winter storm in this entire area right here. I mean, the potential is there, especially as we get deeper in the pattern. I think the deeper we get into this pattern, into January, the more, I would say, up here probably just gets cold and dry. This will just be very cold and dry, very cold Arctic air mass. I think the chances for winter weather really increase below this circle I just drew into this region as we get deeper into this pattern. So into here, chances for a winter storm has plenty of cold air diving down, pieces of energy diving down. You have a chance to face something and work magic in that area right here. I'm getting a little bit better on my circles now, so that's good. And, this pattern just hangs with us. It sticks around, and I think we'll just continue to have multiple pieces of energy riding down the eastern side of that ridge. And you can see the energy this way. This is the first trough diving down. As you can tell, this is not going to work because all of our energy is just northern stream dominated. It's positioned too far this way. So that's just not going to work. You progress this forward. Here comes our big blob of energy right here, that first main storm system we broke down. This is going to get some cold air working with it like we just mentioned, and then that trough digs down right in here. And if you actually freeze it right here, you're starting to see some clutter like down here in this region. That's maybe some southern stream energy getting going, but it's really just a steady stream of energy coming down here off this ridge, diving down. So we're kind of gotten two working in tandem here. This is coming down, a little bit of energy back here coming into this area, and then we have a chance for maybe something to dig down into here and then becomes neutrally tilted and then becomes negatively tilted maybe. It doesn't necessarily have to become negatively tilted, but you get some sort of phasing storm system maybe somewhere into here, and then it really starts to head on up the eastern seaboard, or it just impacts areas of the south. That could very well happen with such a brutal push of cold air suppressing the storm track down. And there's a chance. The fail mode is it's too cold for everybody. The press of cold air is just too punishing, and it just pushes all the energy too far south. And I mean, you got moisture down here, and it's not affecting anybody but Florida. Who knows? Florida could get something out of it. This is how cold this air is going to be. So plenty of energy now backing west. So this will give people a shot pretty far south for a winter storm. Now, folks, the last thing we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap this video up after we got done talking for 40 minutes, is the MJO. Let's make this a little bit smaller here. So this is basically the background state, and what I'll mention here is phase 6 right here. Phase 5, 4, and 3 are not favorable phases for winter weather across the central and eastern U.S. Once you get into 7, it's getting a little bit better, but 8 and really 1 are the golden phases. 2's not bad either. So right now, we're around in phase 7. That's about where we are right now. This is going to loop most likely and get into phase 8 over the next day or two. And once we do, the background becomes very favorable. Now, what this is doing is this is kind of looping this around and kind of hanging out in phase 8, slipping into phase 1 eventually. If this happens, and you see these numbers right here, this is January 4, January 6, 8, 10, 12. If this happens, folks, then we stay in a favorable phase for cold and winter weather for a long time. And that has been the trends today, is that we actually hang out in this phase a little bit longer. And, I mean, this one kind of, there's no way that's accurate. What we're seeing in model guides does not support that. But if you look at, say, let's go back to the CFS forecast here. This kind of, cruises it through and this is the extended forecast. So we can look at this. This kind of cruises it through phase 8 very fast, gets it in phase 1, and then gets it in phase 2, and then kind of slows down. The GFS Ensemble run gets it in phase 8 within the next few days, and then slowly progresses through 8 and 1. So we just got to figure out what's going to happen with this. I certainly think that we got a long ways to go before we figure out winter storm chances, but the cold air is definitely coming, guys. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll do it again in the morning.